Are you hearing us? Yes.
Hi, this is Neal with Graveside Paranormal Tours, GravesideParanormal.com, Graveside Paranormal on YouTube. How's everybody liking the tour tonight? Adam, are you here? Talk to us.
Hello everyone, this is Neal with Graveside Paranormal Presents Spirits by the Graveside. Today's date is January 14th, 2021. This will be aired on the 17th, 1/17/21. I want to wish everyone a happy new year. I hope this year is going to be much better than the last year, because last year wasn't so good. Let's keep in mind all those first responders out there, the nurses, the law enforcement, that say thank you every now and then. You know, hey, they work hard and they go through all this just to make sure that you're taken care of all the time, especially those nurses. It's very, very important. What we're going to do right now is we are going to introduce to you Mr. Jack Chavez. How are you today, Jack?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right, Jack. I brought Jack in here, and as usual, Steve Lineweber. Steve, you say hi to everybody.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Hey everybody! So I wanted to bring in Jack, and Steve came up with the idea of coming up with the show about simulated reality and the Mandela Effect, which we will get into. I asked both of these guys to research it as much, just like I research things. We are going to be talking about that, but before I even do that, I want to talk about the news of the day. The news of the week. What's going on in the world right now? Well, news of the week. Carrie from Moonlight Bean. She was on our show when we did our Krampus show. She is selling candy edibles of classic horror films. I've seen these things. You can go to Moonlight Bean on Facebook. You can go to moonlightbean.com. She is selling these infused candies with Mary Jane inside of them. They're not at high milligrams, but I guess there is something that tastes very good. I looked at these things. They look really, really good. They're basically like the heads of like Freddy Krueger or the Bride of Frankenstein. It is really, really cool stuff. So check that out, because we always try to take care of their friends who take care of us at Graveside Paranormal and Spirits by the Graveside. The next thing, Netflix. What, Steve? What do you think? Do you think that you would want something like that?
Yeah, but I mean, Freddy Krueger. Am I gonna get paranoid and like start freaking out? I don't know, but it's low dosage, right?
Yeah, it's a low dosage. I did talk to her. She's doing everything legally, the way that things should be done. It's not like somebody out on a street corner selling crack. You know, she's a professional. She knows what she's doing. She definitely knows what she's...
I wonder if different horror characters have different grades of marijuana, and or are they all the same?
Yeah, well, you know, that's a very good question. Like, what happens if, like, maybe, one's a little scarier than the other one when you take a bite? You know? Because...
Yeah, I would think the Chucky one was low grade, and then the Freddy one was high grade.
High grade. That's some high grade marijuana.
I would expect the Freddy Krueger one to give me amazing dreams and be absolutely killer.
Yeah.
Wow, Steve. What do you think of that, Jack?
I think it's a great idea. It's definitely marketable.
Oh, definitely.
I wonder if she came out with it around Halloween.
No.
Or did she just come out with it?
She just came out with it. I was talking to her on the phone yesterday, and she told me that she just came out with it, and I said, man, you are on to something. I wish I could take that kind of stuff, but I can't. But if I could, I would.
Tours
in
October.
Can you imagine?
Have that on the bus. Oh.
You know how like we give out candy during the tours and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There you go.
Oh my god.
Most interesting ghost tour ever.
The next big one should be cryptid figures with different grades of weed.
Yeah, the Mothman one.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Devil.
Yeah, definitely. Or Jersey Devil, exactly. So moving on. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen yet on Netflix a show called Surviving Death. Jack, have you seen this show yet?
I have seen the show, yes. It's a pretty good show.
Isn't that an amazing show? I'm like,
yeah, it is.
Yeah. I'm like, I cannot put it down. I haven't finished it, but I cannot put it down. It's a show that deals with all different aspects of death. Anyone from mediums to afterlife, how people deal with death. It's an amazing thing. What episode? How many episodes did you get through?
I finished it.
Oh, you did?
So I think what I like about the show is they look at not only different aspects, but also like different criticisms, and I think that's really interesting. Not to give too much away to the audience, but in the 2-part medium episode, there was the man who was wanting to speak to his father,
right?
And he came across kind of a roadblock with a couple of the mediums, and it's good that they show that to us and how he felt about the different mediums that he went to go see.
Yeah, I agree completely with you. I like that very, very much. On the first episode, very interesting episode. I think her name was Stephanie. She was the lady who had the near-death experience after giving birth. Oh my God, that episode was so good. And just a lot of it is so good. I enjoy it. But Steve, you haven't seen it yet.
There was a woman that was in Chicago as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. She's from Chicago, and you know what? And what's that?
No, I said yes, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I recommend this show to everybody who's in the paranormal world, who enjoys this kind of stuff, like I do, and I know Jack and Steve do. To check this show out. They did a great job. I mean, they just put it together, like he said. They put together like the devil's advocate on it too. The what is this? What is that? Everybody gives their critical thinking on it. I think it's just awesome. But moving on.
Yeah, there was no.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Cringy moments or anything like that. There's no cringy moments. There was no, anything hokey about it. It just looked at it after death phenomena as a very honestly,
Yeah, I actually am going to do a show on February. We are going to be doing reincarnation. I've already got a hold of a couple of guests for that one, and I think that's going to be a really, really cool show as well. I'm really looking forward to that one, but just as much as I'm looking forward to tonight, because Steve actually started this subject with me, and I said, well, let's reach out to Jack, but I still have one more thing in the news. The Lizzie Borden house is for sale. Did you guys know this?
No.
Yes.
It is?
How much do you think it's going for, Steve?
I heard about it.
How much would
Are
you
we going to buy it?
Yeah, yeah, right. How much do you think it would go for, Steve?
I have no idea.
What do you think, Jack? How much do you think it would go for?
Well, I actually saw the article.
Oh, well then, you just gave it away.
No, I'm not going to give it away.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. They're selling it for $2 million.
What?
Yes, $2 million, Steve. That's a whole lot of those edible candies.
We gotta get selling.
Yeah.
Are we making commission on that?
Well, you know what, man, you can make like little hatchet candies.
Mm-hmm.
And like maybe a candy with the dad on the sofa. Am I going too far? On that? Maybe I got too far on that one. But what comes with it? Go ahead, Jack.
No, what's interesting is that yes, it's a big house and it has several rooms, but it's not. If you look at the house, if you Google it, it doesn't look like $2 million.
No.
$2 million house,
Well, the reason why it's going for $2 million, and I read the article, is because they're also selling the business, and it includes the business, the trademark, and all intellectual rights. Now, we got to think about this for a second.
That makes sense.
If most of these places, and I'm sure that you've gone to these places, Jack, you know how like you pay to go to certain haunted houses and they want it? And let's say you're paying just $500 for a Saturday, okay? And you have your group of 5 to 8 people. And it's the Lizzie Borden house. So you know that thing is sold out probably from March all the way up to November 1st. So they got to be making at least $10,000 a month. And that alone. Plus, people are going to go there and they probably got like little rubber hatchets and stuff like that that they want to sell you. I haven't been there yet. It's definitely one of the places I do want to go to eventually, me and Steve. But, $2 million is a lot of money, but if you were, let's say hypothetically, you're making $10,000 a month, I could see it. I could see the investment. I really can. Plus, you can talk people down. That's why we negotiate.
I think the Powerball is like at 600 million or more now.
Oh yeah, that's man. Can you imagine 670 million? I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's at something like that.
Well, maybe we should play.
And then we could just basically, buy that house and just live there for a little while, and do what we do, But I want to first, after the news, which we've just ended, Steve, is Jack. I want to ask a little bit about yourself. You're the first time to our show, and I do appreciate you coming on and researching this with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Jack.
Sure. I want to say, thank you to both of you for inviting me on. I've been listening to your show for a while now and watching your videos, Neal. So it's just been great and to talk to both of you like this.
Cool. Do you enjoy the videos?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Good. Because I didn't think anybody liked us.
We're getting better.
I think you guys have a lot of fans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit about me. So I've been in the paranormal for several years. I'm 32 years old now.
Right.
So I've been in it since I got hardcore into it probably in my early 20s or so. But I've always been, researching or reading about the paranormal since I was young. I did receive my bachelor's degree in anthropology, and I try to use anthropological tools in my paranormal researching. Kind of differentiating between what would be a subjective and an objective experience. I've collaborated with several people in the paranormal. Our mutual friend, the great Tony Zabelski.
Yeah, very nice guy. Just a very nice guy.
Yeah, he's a great tour guide for the city, for Chicago. And so I've worked with him, and he's a personal buddy of mine. I don't know if you guys know Sam Moranto. He's the Illinois State Director of MUFON, Mutual UFO Network.
No, I never met the man. I've heard the name.
Yeah, really nice guy. I worked with him, and yeah, so I'm kind of a freelance, and I collaborate with a bunch of people. So I've done, I've interviewed people that have had ghost sightings, even a Nephilim sighting as well in Canada. UFO sightings, and I've interviewed people, all sorts of different paranormal experiences.
Now, I always ask my guests, what got you into the paranormal world? Everybody knows my story because I always tell it a lot, and and probably people are like, "All right, Neal, stop telling this freaking story, man." But I always like to ask everybody how or why they got into the paranormal. If you could, Jack.
Sure. Well, there wasn't any one event, to be honest with you. I didn't have a paranormal experience that thrusted me into the field. It was kind of always this, intuitive knowing that there is more to reality than what we, see and hear.
Sure.
And I've always been interested in that aspect of reality, mysteries and the unexplained. And it was just kind of a gradual stepping into this field. And, I have never looked back since. So I can't actually say that I've had, full-blown paranormal experience. I've definitely had, things that I can't explain happen to me. I'm not ready to say, oh yeah, this was definitely paranormal, but very, very peculiar things.
Right. Have you ever? What's the best place that you ever went to for a haunting?
I would say the Roth House in Watsika, Illinois.
Okay. What happened there?
Have you guys been there?
No.
Yeah, so there was a possession that took place in the late 1800s. A girl, not a demonic possession either, I need to emphasize. A young girl says that she was possessed by the spirit of another girl. And, long story short, the family or the father of the deceased girl, acknowledged that the girl who was possessed was being possessed by his daughter.
Now, is this a story where you find the girl on the road leading to the house?
No, not that one.
No, not that one. Okay.
No, not that one. Yeah, but the families got together and they kind of, they everybody was in agreement that this young lady was possessed by our daughter, and it made national headlines, and the journalists from all over the country descended on the Loft House.
Now I'm remembering.
To interview her. So,
Wow. And what kind of experiences did you have there?
Oh, right. So we investigated there. I believe it was last year. And what happened was I was upstairs, and there was about, if I had to estimate, I would say about 10 paranormal investigators in there. So I was upstairs, and I was told that a seance was taking place downstairs, and one of the people was a medium conducting it. And I do get a little bit skeptical of seances. I'm not saying I don't believe. I just I get a little bit skeptical. I'm not really sure on them. But somebody had come upstairs, and they went to the room I was in, and they said, "Hey, the table downstairs is moving." And I was a little skeptical, but I said, "Well, let me go check it out." So I go downstairs, and as I'm going downstairs, I could see everybody's hands on the table, and the table is shaking. So I said, all right, well, I need to see what's going on, right? So I literally walk around everybody that had their hands. Now, everybody's fingertips were on the round table. And so I looked at their fingers, I looked at where their feet were, where their legs were, and nobody's shaking it. I'm looking under the table, and I really couldn't explain why it was shaking. And it was shaking pretty good, to be honest with you.
Really?
So I kind of slowly, reached my hand out to the table while everybody's eyes were closed. And as soon as my fingertips touched the table jerked back and stopped, completely stopped. And, the medium opened her eyes, and she's like, "Jack, was that you that pushed the table like that?" And I go, "No, what does it mean?" And then everybody was like, "Wow, no, that's really interesting." But I was kind of in awe of what happened. I still don't know what happened. I knew all the investigators that were there. I trust them, so I don't think anybody was, trying to trick anybody else. And honestly, I don't think they were unconsciously doing it. I mean, maybe that is a possibility.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've never had that experience yet where a seance like that or anything like that. Of course, I'm looking forward to it one day. That is a really cool story. I really do appreciate you telling us that. But it's almost kind of like that Netflix show that we were just talking about, how you have those physical mediums and you have your other two kind of mediums. What the heck is it called? Mental medium. But, and you go into something always kind of skeptical, but you're always hoping for the best, but probably expecting the worst, just like people say, But
right, yeah. And the girl that was allegedly possessed, her name was Laurentie Venom. I had forgotten it. But yeah, it was Laurentie Venom, and she was said to be possessed by Asa Ross.
Did you catch any EVPs?
Did we? No, I don't think we did, actually. Yeah, they were playing the Ouija board on there, but I don't think anything happened with that as well.
What about EMF readings? Did you get high EMF readings? Do you remember? Whoop.
No, I don't think we did, if I remember correctly. But what did happen, interestingly, was I think the next weekend, a colleague of mine named Matt Knudsen, he runs Southside Paranormal. His team investigated that the next weekend, and he took a pretty good shot of the dining room. And it looks like a shadow right there. It's really interesting. It's pretty distinct as well. So.
I gotta check this place out, man. I gotta really check this out. It sounds really interesting. But let's get into, if you're ready, Jack. If you're ready, do you guys want to talk about simulated reality and the Mandela Effect? Stand by. What if the reality we live in is not real? What if? What if we are living a life only in our brain, well defined by our character, our emotions, and struggles we want to learn? What if we choose our reality? There are so many what ifs. But are some of us overthinking this because we want a different reality than the 9-to-5 reality that we all live in? At the end of this show, you will decide for yourselves. Steve came to me and he called me and he said, Neal, I want to do a show about simulated reality. I think it's a really cool idea. And I said, you are correct, sir. So then I reached out to Jack, and Jack did his research as well. So I'm going to give you guys the first question. We're going to start with Steve. I want you to answer this question first. And this is going to deal with the paranormal part, could the apparitions that people see or voices people hear, could it be a glitch in the Matrix? What do you think, Steve?
Well, yeah, it depends. Like, if the simulated reality theory holds any water, when I think about it, you go back to like 1972, right? You got Pong. That was like the most advanced video game, right? And then it evolved. I mean, that was just two paddles and a ball going back and forth. You get to the 2000s, you got The Sims, right?
Sure.
And now you've got these photorealistic 3D simulated video games that are multiplayer realities that you play. People get immersed in that. It's almost like human beings are designed to create these realities, these experiences. At the rate that it's going, in, say, 1,000 years, where will we be? Will we create realities that are so realistic that we don't know that they're a simulation in a computer? And can that simulation be a little glitchy? And
Whereas,
are some of the things that we're seeing when we're out there doing our investigations actually be glitches in the Matrix?
it's a thought. Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what Steve was talking about, there's this philosopher named Nick Bostrom, and he developed a series of 5 statements, and one of the statements must be true, and basically each statement, says if this is happening or this is not happening, then this must be or must not be happening. Like, just to name one of them, for example, is we would have no way of knowing that we live in a simulation because we will never reach the technological capacity to realize the marks of a simulated reality. And of course, there's other philosophers that try to critique what he says, but if you look at the 5 statements and the breakdown of each one, it's really interesting that it's true that our senses are really deceptive. What if it's not just a simulated reality? What if we're also living in a dream? In a dream state. And there is a whole category of philosophy that talks about this. It's called skeptical hypotheses, or
Mm-hmm.
also
Yes.
known as philosophical skepticism, and it kind of goes into the idea that how do we know reality exists? And one of the people that were promoters of philosophical skepticism was Rene Descartes. He's famous for saying, "I think, therefore I am." Descartes, in his Meditations on First Philosophy, stated that as he lived his life, he realized that not all of his senses were true. He would hear something that he didn't actually hear, and things of that nature. So he said, if I can't trust all my senses, then how can I trust my reality?
Very good point. Very good point. If I can't trust my sense, man, that is good. I like. I'm sorry. That is really, really good. I like that. I actually played one of those games, Steve. Those new virtual realities. You put on those big goggles.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Dude, I
played it?
Yeah, I played it for a second because I was worried. If I would go into a seizure or something. And it was Star Wars. My nephew brought it over on Christmas, and I was playing. I said, "Man," I said, "Damn." I said, "This thing is unbelievable." But once again, it's something that we've brought to the table, us as humans, and that leads me into the next question. What if it's aliens? Are we an experiment, Jack, by aliens or another outside host, like I talked about, the big G, small g equation? What do you think, Jack?
It's definitely a possibility. The researcher John Keel, who wrote Mothman Prophecies, he had the theory. He had a theory called the ultra-terrestrials. These beings that he referred to as ultra-terrestrials, that they weren't actually aliens. They existed on a different plane of reality. Within our world, there's a different plane of reality, and they were able to manipulate reality as they see fit for reasons that we would never know, because it's like us, putting a hamster in a maze. The hamster would never know what it's doing or why it's doing this, why it was put there, but we understand it. And, these beings are just on a higher plane than us, and we would never understand why they do what they do to us.
Yeah, the rhythm of the rhyme. We don't know why they're doing what they're doing. Steve, what do you think? Do you think that there is a possibility that we could be just an experiment by an aliens?
It's possible. Who knows what kind of mind would create a simulation, a reality like this? Is it our ancestors, or is it our future selves, right? Us trying to simulate how we were back in history and trying to solve a problem, or it'll be a completely different race, a different species. I mean, think about it. If reality is a simulation, then your cat, your dog, your goldfish is a simulation as well. So we're not talking about just human beings. So maybe we're just another animal in the simulation. There's no reason to say it's necessarily a human creation, but humans do have this tendency to create simulations. We're doing it with computers right now. So maybe the experiment is alien, and maybe we're the result of that. Like, they're trying to find how sentience becomes like them.
Right. Just it goes back to the equation I talked about, large G, small g equation. We start out with a creator. There's a creator who makes a being. And then somewhere down time, the being gets a lot of intellectual knowledge. And now that being has learned how to create, such as we have, as in like cloning. So now we become gods. So then we all of a sudden start making things, and we start observing them, just like you would observe a clone. They don't know that they're a clone, but yet we do, and we're the observers, and they're the experiment. And then eventually, somewhere down the line, that group then becomes a large G and makes a small g. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah,
It does.
There's a theory called computationalism, and what that is it states that our cognition is a form of computation. It's a form of a computer, and the way it behaves is just it's a very complex computer, but a computer-like thing nevertheless, you know.
Sure.
And like you were saying, Neal, like what if that is the case? Like, you know, there is this creator that, you know, created us in his image, and perhaps he never intended for us to become this intelligent. You know, it kind of goes back to the story of Adam and Eve in Genesis. You know, where God told Adam not to eat from the fruit of knowledge, and then the snake goes to Eve and says, you know, the only reason why God doesn't want you to do that because if you do, you will be like God. So what if that was an allegory for something that actually happened? You know, these artificial intelligence, us, you know, did something. They switched the right lever, and we became, you know, like God in the sense of cognition.
And that's where probably like free will came in. And with that free will, we started to do what we wanted to do. All of a sudden, like you said, God said, pardon me?
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, is that, you know, now you have free will. So you do what you want. You reap the repercussions that come along with it. You know, God all of a sudden, like a mom or a dad, tells you, don't touch that apple. Well, if you tell somebody not to do something so many times, eventually someone's going to get curious. Am I right or wrong, guys?
I'll touch it.
But I wonder if this is a simulated reality, then do we really have free will, or do we have free will in confines of, you know, the space around us?
Is free will an illusion, and are we just NPCs? Are we non-playable characters in the simulation, or do we actually have a real sentience, a real consciousness, a real free will about us? Or not?
Well,
that's an age-old question.
You know what?
Is free will an illusion?
You know what? I think right now would be the perfect time for those edible candies.
Absolutely.
Because these kind of conversations are like meant for stuff like that. That and a couple of drinks. Because you just sit there and, man, I'm telling you, this is going to get deep tonight. I'm telling you. So let's go on to the next one. I'm going to start with Steve. And this is where the edible candies kick in. Everybody take their edible candy right now. Now, I know I exist.
It's a while for that to kick in, though.
Okay, I'll take my time with the questions.
All right.
Now, I know I exist, but do I know if you exist? Are some people hold on. Are some people just overthinking some things due to psychological flaws, such as delusion? Are they also going through hallucinations? Or could it be, just like the edibles, could it be drug use? I know I exist, but how do I know you exist, Steve?
You don't know that I exist.
Right.
But you also, do you really know that you exist?
I have essence. I know who I am.
Or is that just a simulation? Are you observing? For example, when you go to sleep at night, right, and you have a dream, you ever had that experience where you're like, this feels so real, and when you wake up, you're surprised that it wasn't real, and you think, I shouldn't eat so many edibles before I go to bed?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what? How about like the drawn emotions? I don't know if either of you have ever had where like you've had a dream and like you've tapped into an emotion that you've never tapped into before. You've never had that emotion, so you're trying to figure that one out. Have either one of you ever had that?
Yeah, hope.
Hope. Well, that's a good one.
I had, yeah. Like, I dreamt that there was, like, I was at the store, and nobody was wearing a mask, and none of this stuff was going on.
Really?
Right? And I had an emotion I've never had, actually. I mean, this is a true story. I've lived that life. We've all lived the life of before COVID, right? But there's, like, this, there's a feeling of just rejoicing, you know, of really appreciating this gratitude for what we had. And, like, it's like, oh, it's back. And it was just this amazing amount of gratitude. I'd never felt that before. I call it gratitude. But again, it was an overpowering emotion that I've never experienced before. And the closest thing I have to relate to it is gratitude. And that happened a couple weeks ago.
Really?
And I woke up and it was not real. It was a simulation in my head.
Man.
It was a dream. And aren't dreams simulations? And think about that. Dreams are simulations within a simulation, possibly. Right?
Man, you just got really deep, dude.
Yeah.
Well, is this... What happens when we die? Do we wake up and go, oh...
You know, that brings up a very good point, but let me throw Jack that question. I know I exist, but how do I know you exist, Jack? What do you think?
I think it goes back to that age-old question of what is real, you know? What if this is a simulated reality? Does that make it any less real than, you know, outside of the simulation? I mean, if we have thoughts and feelings, emotions, goals, we feel, you know, joy and pain, you know, is that any different than what our quote-unquote creators or the aliens that created us, you know, is that any different than what they feel? You know?
Interesting.
The aliens could be simulations, too.
What's that?
The aliens could be simulations. And
Right.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, take, for instance, like shadow people. Okay? Some people see shadow people. Some people don't. I've seen a shadow person once before. What I've always noticed about them is they always, for some reason, go left to right, and I don't understand why that is. What happens if a shadow person is actually a simulation, or it's someone behind the curtain, and they're just giving some kind of reflection or something like that, and that's just how you see them? Is that too deep of a thought?
like they're part of some maintenance pack?
Maybe he's the maintenance guy, you know?
Like a maintenance pack or security patch.
Yeah, you never know, man. Yeah, I mean, you just never know. But getting back to your thing about the dreams in the brain, take, for instance, when you do die, okay? Now, your chemicals change when you die, and your brain is turning off, at least to everybody's monitors. And anybody in the hospital, they say he's brain dead now, he's physically dead. But what happens if something's still alive in there and it's continuing on to a simulation where a bright white light shows up and you go through a tunnel? It goes back to kind of almost this Netflix show that we were talking about. Is that now then another simulation that you're getting into, knowing a past life? Seeing your mom or your dad again? Could that just be another simulation? And do we just keep going through simulation after simulation? Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, reincarnation after
Or
reincarnation.
Jack, go ahead. Jack, go ahead.
No, I was just saying reincarnation after reincarnation, you know, simulation after simulation.
Right, right. What do you think, Steve?
Well, you think about time, right? Like, you can have an experience that seems like it lasted forever, but it can be a very small moment in time. And I'm not just talking about when you have edibles, right?
Right.
Like, you can have in meditation, right? I've done a lot of meditation in my life. I studied Tai Chi for several years. I enjoy meditating, and I can get into a really cool place that seems like it lasted for hours, but in reality, it was a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The human brain is capable of experiencing time at different levels, depending on what frequency you're vibrating at, what your consciousness is doing, you know. And in deep meditation, you're capable of that. At the moment of death, is it possible that because of those biochemical changes, and perhaps the release of, they talk about the release of DMT from the pineal gland.
And we've talked about that before. Yeah.
And you can have these crazy hallucinations that seem like people who've taken DMT, you know, they'll smoke it and then they'll have this 7 minutes of craziness that seems like it lasts forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're talking to elves, they're seeing fractals, and you know, they can't remember half the stuff they experienced when they come back from it, but it was really cool, and it lasted a long time.
Hey, man.
Is that a simulation?
Right.
Do we have, at death, does the simulation pump out the DMT, creating yet another level?
A vortex in the brain. What about a vortex in the brain, Steve? What do you think?
There you go. That would be a cool name for a band.
Vortex. What do you think of that one, Jack? Vortex in the brain.
I like it.
You like it?
The philosopher John Locke said that the way we know dreams are just absurdity is because you don't experience real pain in dreams. But the thing is, there's been studies over the last couple of decades that have shown that you can actually experience pain in dreams. And I think that we've all experienced that, when you get hurt in a dream and it feels real. And they say that, when you experience pain, even in waking life, because of waking life,
right.
waking life, that you could overcome it with mind over matter. So there's this blending of realities, and this goes back to the beginning: what's real and what's not.
Right. All right. So next question. Start out with Jack. Now, if you know this is all just one big simulated reality, how would you feel about knowing the truth? The people you loved was all a fake emotion, simulated to see your reaction, and then all of this was taken away from you in a blink of an eye. How would you feel if you knew everything was phony? The ones that you loved, your wife, your girlfriend, your children, and that was just all taken away from you, and they were not real. You were the only one left to be real. How would you act, Jack? How would you feel?
Oh, I'd say figures.
You get like this 6'3" tall blonde, and you went, man, I'm so in love and this and that, and guy goes, gotcha.
Well, what's funny is, I think we may all have had this dream that you dream that you're in a relationship, and in the dream so much time goes by, and you've been with this person for a long time, and then you wake up and you realize that you're not actually with them.
Right.
And you feel that heartbreak.
Yeah, I've had a dream like that. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So it's it wouldn't be pleasant, but I think I've contemplated this kind of thing long enough where I don't know how disappointed I would be, because I'd be like, yeah, it probably was something like this.
This is normal for me. This is normal. Steve, what do you think? If everything you had, you've been going to work 9 to 5, dealing with the boss, coming home, kissing the wife, getting the kids off to school, and feeling those emotions on Christmas and this and that, and now it's all phony. How do you feel now, Steve?
Well, it's like with dreams. Like I've had dreams where, I experienced like a relationship, right? And then I woke up and it was gone. And it is heartbreaking, right? Mm-hmm. What people try to do is get back into the dream, right?
Yes.
You go, I want to have that dream again.
Yes.
I want to go right back to bed.
Yes.
Or tonight, I'm going to go there in my dream.
Right.
I would say plug me back in.
Plug me back in.
Plug me back in.
What was that movie? There was a movie just like that where, this guy, he had the perfect lifestyle and this and that, and then all of a sudden he found out that it was not real, and he's like, plug me back in. I forget. I remember seeing it. Either it was a TV show.
Are you talking about The Matrix, where they're kind of whining and dining the dude?
Maybe that was part of The Matrix that I'm remembering. I haven't seen the movie in quite a while. I know I remember watching all 3 of them. But, it was something like that. Because imagine that strong emotion of it's basically like losing someone. Like a death.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that happens. Yeah, that's man. Go ahead.
That's similar to the film with Tom Cruise, Vanilla Sky, where he decided to intentionally go into a simulated reality because of something that happened to him in the real world.
Right.
He didn't want to experience it, and then so he goes into this perfect life, and then it starts to malfunction, and is realizing that things are not the way they are. Or even, what about Jim Carrey's Truman Show?
Right.
You know, where he has a perfect life, but he's unhappy because he can sense this other, you know?
Right. Now, last question, and I'm going to throw this to Steve first. Let's say you find out that everything's fake and the creator comes out behind the curtain and says to you, Steve, I'm going to give you a choice here now. You can keep the life that you have right now, or you're going to win that Mega Millions on Friday, have the kind of lifestyle you want for the rest of your life, and you do whatever you want. Which one would you choose, Steve?
I have the lifestyle I choose. I have everything I want right now. And I don't think money's going to change that.
Okay.
It's not going to, if I had to give up everything for money, no. I mean, yeah, you know, do I go to work every day? Do I make money? Yeah, I make money.
Mm-hmm.
But I have enough. I wouldn't give up what I have now for any kind of money. I can make money. I know how to make money.
Well, it's not just, and I shouldn't have said win the lottery. Let's put it this way. All other doors are opened up to you to do whatever you want in life. The world is your oyster. Yeah,
every DMT,
yes.
every experience, right?
What would you do? You'd stay with what you're doing.
Now, or to become God, that's a question. Do you want, are you asking me basically, Neal, are you saying, do I want the red pill or the blue pill?
Right, exactly.
Okay. Everything's fake. You can choose the blue pill and go back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can take the red pill and see how far the rabbit hole goes.
Man, see? I think you're eating one of those edibles.
How old am I when I have this choice?
You're at the
am I at death's door?
We're not dealing with time travel. This isn't time travel. Right now, okay. Steve, right now.
Right now.
Right now.
There's so many things that I'm interested and invested in finding out on my journey that, like, if I were to bypass that and go right to, like, you know, the Cliff Notes answer, take the red pill and see everything, I don't know if it'd be the same as experiencing it. So
sure.
maybe we get there anyway, eventually, but the time's not right for me right now.
I agree with you.
I like the mystery. I like solving little things at the time, like coming to you and giving you a call and saying, let's talk about simulated reality, and then you get excited about that. Like, that's the peak of where I'm at right now. I'm not ready for the complete red pill. Okay. One day I hope I am.
All right.
But, yeah, I'm not ready to make the jump.
All right, Jack, you're still a very young man. What would you do? You have the life that you have right now, but all of a sudden someone comes behind the curtain and says, Jack, let's make this different. You chose this for a minute, but you did write down on the other page that if everything goes wrong, I want plan B. What are you going to do, Jack?
You know, I really like Steve's answer. Mine is very similar because, you know, I will toss everything aside right now for the truth, but I don't know if mentally and emotionally I'm ready for that kind of truth, because that kind of truth, that kind of godlike truth, is probably akin to taking a high dose of LSD. And I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Right.
I think right now in my life, I would need to take the gradual steps toward that truth.
Cool. I like your answer, man. Now I'm just going to give my answer. Is that I love the journey that I'm on. Like it says in the back on my wall, trust your journey. I think through hard work and dedication and living the life at a regular, normal rate of speed is what is intended for us all. And if I was given that option, either the red or the blue pill, I'm staying with the pill that I took in the first place. Because it's the hardest worker who enjoys the journey and benefits from everything that he or she ever receives at the end of that journey. I'm a big believer in that. Huge. I hope that answer made sense.
What about a purple pill?
Just
Purple pill.
like to see what if.
It's a combination of blue and red, right? You keep what you have, but you know a little bit more.
Nah, that's
Purple
bullshit.
pill.
That's bullshit. You can't have that one, dude. You can't have that one. Sorry.
Barney, yeah, never mind. I won't go into purple, but
My show, no purple pill. All right, that was our last question for that, but it also brings us into the next thing that we're going to talk about, the Mandela Effect. Now, Steve brought this to my attention as part of the simulated reality, the Mandela Effect. Let me explain. The Mandela Effect is based off an alternate reality. In one reality, I am who is talking right now on Spirits by the Graveside. Whereas in another alternate reality is Neal Gibbons listening to someone else doing Spirits by the Graveside. Steve, tell us what is the Mandela Effect and how Nelson Mandela is the main character for this, please.
so the story goes, and I kind of remember this too, as that during in the 90s, sometime Nelson Mandela died. And then later on, was it a couple decades later, you hear, he's still alive, and everyone's like scratching their head. I thought the dude died, right? It was a false reality that people were believing, and so they named it the Mandela Effect. But it wasn't just Nelson Mandela. It wasn't just people hearing that story and having different versions of it. Freaky things like down to your peanut butter brand. People remember peanut butter being called Jiffy, but Jiffy never existed. There was Jif, and there was Skippy, right?
Mm-hmm.
No Jiffy.
No Jiffy.
But the one that freaks me out the most, the one that really makes me question reality, is the Fruit of the Loom logo, Mandela Effect. I remember the Fruit of the Loom logo a very specific way. And now I've recently found out, according to the internet, if you trust the internet, the logo that I remember as a child never existed. And that is one of the craziest things. And anybody listening to this who doesn't know about the Fruit of the Loom logo and the Mandela Effect, go and Google this or search engine it, right? It's the wackiest thing. Neal, tell me, do you remember the Fruit of the Loom logo?
Yes.
Describe it to me.
You had the apple, you had the orange, I think there was a pear, the fruit of the loom.
Do you remember anything else?
No, just the fruits on there, and it said Fruit of the Loom across of it, right?
Okay. You don't remember cornucopia?
What's
behind it, like a horn-shaped basket behind the fruit.
You know what? I think you're right. Jack, do you remember any of that stuff at all?
Yeah, I remember a basket behind like a bunch of fruit.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Right. I remember seeing it, and I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what that horn-shaped basket was. I thought it was the loom.
Oh my God! You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, you're right.
Right?
No, I do.
But it wasn't a loom.
It's like that harvest, the thing from a harvest, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I was a little kid, so I didn't know what a loom was. I just assumed that the basket was the loom, and that was the fruit of the loom. I remember something there, and now they're saying that something there never existed.
Now, Jack, do you researched the Mandela Effect? How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I do. Well, at least I thought that Nelson Mandela died in the 80s and 90s. But when I found out that he didn't, and he died in like 2004 or something, I was like, wait a minute, what? But I kind of brushed it aside only because I wasn't too familiar with Mandela. I just I knew he was the first black president of South Africa, and that was the extent of it, and he was an activist as well. But when you look at the other things, like Steve was mentioning, the Fruit of the Loom. That's which I didn't even know about. That's crazy. Right. The other one was Looney Tunes.
Yeah, Looney Tunes.
We all think that Looney Tunes, the Looney Tunes was spelled Toons, and apparently it wasn't. It was always spelled Tunes.
Right. Well, that doesn't even make sense, does it? Why would you call it Tunes, as in music, instead of a cartoon? It's a cartoon. That doesn't make sense. And I think you're absolutely right about that. That's another one of these glitches in the Matrix. If there is a Matrix. But I have to play devil's advocate here. Now, we all know Nelson Mandela was a part of apartheid, which was a horrible thing that happened in South Africa, and he became a political prisoner. At that time, during the 80s, what newspapers were out that dealt with a lot of bullcrap? The Inquirer, The Star. What if you thought Nelson Mandela died, but actually what you did is you're going to the supermarket at Jewel, and you see, as everybody always did, something saying Nelson Mandela died. But it's the Inquirer saying that. See, I have to play kind of devil's advocate at that. Is what happens if all of a sudden... Go ahead.
World Weekly News is not true.
I guess so, Steve. I guess so. And or CNN.
Now, it's possible what you're saying. It's possible.
Because they put out a whole bunch of issues, and everybody sees it. Why does everybody see it, Steve? Because everybody goes to the checkout line at a grocery store.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So if all of a sudden...
Fruit of the Loom thing sells me on this.
I get you. Take, for instance...
I know.
Take, for instance, the Berenstain Bears. Is it Berenstein or Berenstain? What is it, Steve?
Well, I remember it as Steen, not Stain.
Yeah, Jack, why would you call it Stain?
Right. Well, because the last name of the creators was Stain, right?
Okay.
Supposedly. But I thought it was Berenstein. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I thought they were, like, German or something.
Well, Stein is Jewish, dude. Isn't it?
Well, yeah. You can be both.
All right, next one. Now you guys tell me what you think. Oscar Mayer, M-E-Y-E-R, or Oscar Mayer? Which one?
They had a song about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
A little kid was spelling it in the song.
Do you want me to sing it?
So, was it, My Baloney has a first name, right? It's O-S-C-A-R.
My Baloney has a second name, it's M-A-Y-E-R. How I like to eat it every day. Go ahead.
Is it M-A or M-E?
What do you think, Jack? What do you think it is?
M-A-Y-E-R is what the little kid's saying.
I thought it was M-E, no? That's what I thought.
No, it's actually M-A-Y-E-R. Okay. But you would think it would be Oscar Mayer because that's how it was always pronunciated, correct?
Mm-hmm.
When you went to the store, you didn't put down Oscar Mayer. It's Mayer, the ones that they're saying that's the way it's spelled. You always pronunciate it Meyer. Now, next one. Life is like a box of chocolates, or life was like a box of chocolates? Forrest Gump, which one do you think?
Mama always used to say, life is like a box of chocolate.
Okay, what do you think, Jack?
You never know what you're going to get.
Jack?
Yeah, I agree that life is like a box of chocolate.
Hold on, Steve. I'm going to pull out the new thing that I got here for the questions.
Oh.
Incorrect!
Oh, no.
It's actually, life was like a box of chocolates. But
why would his mom say, life was like, is she talking from the dead?
I don't know, dude. That's actually, everybody thinks life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
He said, Mama always used to say. Why would she always used to say life was like a box of chocolate?
Hey, man, I didn't write the movie.
With her deceased, like, was he talking to her ghost?
Dude,
You know,
dude.
like, it makes sense. Maybe that's why we remember it as is.
All right.
Because that makes sense, and maybe they, didn't make sense, so we edited it.
All right, we're moving on to the next one.
Sure.
Jack, I'm going to ask you this one. Star Wars. Luke, I am your father, is not what Darth Vader said in Empire Strikes Back. All he said during the dramatic moment was, did he say, Luke, I am your father? Or he said, I am your father? What do you think, Jack? What do you remember? And be honest.
Yeah, and I've seen the movie a bunch of times. Luke, I am your father.
Okay. Steve, what do you think?
I remember Maury coming out and saying, Luke, he is your father.
You're an ass.
I'm sorry.
What do you think? What do you think?
Luke, I am your father.
Incorrect! You are incorrect, sir. He's saying, I am your father. I always thought it was Luke, I am your father. But it's actually, if you go back into the movie, and believe me, I researched it after, it says, I am your father. I thought it was too. All right. Those are some very interesting things about your Mandela Effect. Would any of you guys like to talk about anything more on the Mandela Effect before I go to Jack with the next question? Or examples? Anyone? Bueller?
Well, so the idea is that it has to do with parallel universes, or the colliding or the diffusion of reality. Some people think that it's due to the Large Hadron Collider, where they smashing atoms together, and that created other realities very slightly.
Mm-hmm. I hear what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're putting down, as my kids would say.
Maybe it's like the shadow people or the maintenance tack, right? Like,
Never know, dude.
it gets edited.
You never know. All right, next question.
For
Go
example,
ahead.
For example, if you look at like the Bernstein Bears one,
Mm-hmm.
like people have posted pictures of it being spelled Bernstein, not Bernstein. Like they say now that it's always been Bernstein.
Mm-hmm.
But there's pictures out there that you should check out because it's really eerie.
Okay, definitely. All right,
Here's another possibility. Here's a third possibility.
Mm-hmm.
We're being gaslighted by the internet.
Well, there's many possibilities. That's what we're talking about, like simulated reality, my friend.
I mean, I know the fruit of the loom thing, right? There's that basket behind it,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're telling me it's not. I know that's not true.
Well, you know what? Like because me and you were talking about this earlier. You were talking about the GIF and Jiffy, okay? Now, just so that, once again, playing devil's advocate, there's a corporate name for every product, okay? So if I have a company that's called Neal Gibbons Enterprises, I can, even though I'm putting out the product and it's been out there for a long time, Neal. Let's say the peanut butter thing was Neal.
Mm.
I can change it at any time as long as I stay underneath that LLC. As long as I stay underneath that corporate name, I can change it to Neely or Nail.
Mm.
Just so you know, maybe it did happen, even though they're saying it didn't happen.
Why would they tell us it didn't?
I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to seem like they were doing competition with Skippy.
Mm.
Yeah. Once again, just playing devil's advocate on it, man. Just putting some.
So this could get into MK Ultra. Is all I'm saying.
All right, we're not getting into MK Ultra today.
Okay.
We already did a show on that. All right, Jack. Next question, and I believe this is the final one of the day. Jack, in your opinion, could a lot of us just be having this in our minds, perceive what we want to hear or see because it just makes sense to our thought process? Or could there be an alternate reality?
It's definitely possible that, we all feed off the perceptions of others, right? So, when a group of people say that they thought something was one way, it's very possible that, we imitate those thoughts and say we believe that we thought it that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, we did give examples there, like the Fruit of the Loom one and the Bernstein Bears, that, we very distinctly remember it being one way. So yeah, it could be an alternate reality, or it could be us
Overthinking.
that we it really goes back to Descartes. Our senses are faulty, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if our senses are faulty, our thinking could be faulty as well, right?
Sure.
Mhm.
I agree. What do you think, Steve? Alternate reality, or are we thinking too much?
It's probably better for us just to go with the flow, because no matter what, if it's a alternate reality, or we're thinking too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it ends up being an alternate reality, what does it benefit us to know? Like, it would be the same thing as your question earlier. Like, I don't know if I'm ready for that red pill. You know?
Right. All right. Well, you know what? I want to thank both of you guys for coming on tonight. I think I thought this was a really cool conversation, and Steve, I appreciate you coming up with this subject. I thought it was a lot of fun, especially the Mandela Effect. There's so much to talk about that because I was watching on Google all these different names and things. It's something you could just sit down for at least a good hour and just go, I wonder. And I want to thank Jack Chavez for, is it Chavez or Chavez?
Chavez, either one, Chavez, yeah.
Okay. I want to thank Jack for coming on tonight. Jack, you were awesome. You did the research. We appreciate that. If there's one thing I like is, like, if there's something that we really don't even know, research it. And, it's great that we all learn and we prosper from the things that we learn from. That's why when Steve came to me about the simulated reality and this and that, I had to research more. And I love it when we go and do these things because it helps our audience. Hopefully we broaden someone's mind today. Because I know I broadened mine about Jif and Jiffy. So, but Jack, if you have anything that you would love to plug, please do so now, sir.
Well, I want to make one observation. So it's really relevant that you had the Talking Heads on, because the vocalist David Byrne, he came out with a film in the '80s called News Stories.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys saw it.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of just like a underground film, and what's really relevant about it is that the movie itself plays like this dream-like reality. He plays both the narrator and the main character, and he interacts with the lives of a bunch of people in a small town. So it's a very dream-like film, and it almost feels like it could be real, but it might not be. So I think that was awesome that you had that music going on.
Cool. Thanks. I appreciate it. Once again, Jack, I appreciate you coming on tonight. Steve, as always good to hear from you. I'll probably hear from you in about an hour. But Jack, thanks for coming on, man. And to everybody out there, thank you for listening tonight. I hope everybody has a blessed new year. And like always, boys and girls, boo.